guy came in who's not a monster. He's actually one of my favorite people, but I had to check him because the normalcy of, I don't even know if normalcy is a word, but everyone understood what I meant.
We know what it means. Yeah.
Of those spaces at that time is to come in and say the most wild racist things and nobody would check you on it. It's interesting being on. I just spent the past year interviewing Black women, specifically for my book, in the same realm. So it's quite nice to be on the other side and like not interviewing is such a hard job as well, and to keep the thing going, to get people where, not even where you want them to go, but like, oh, there's an interesting thing there. Can I pull that out? So I'm quite happy to just sit back and let you do it all, to be honest. So yeah.
I love the concept of your book as well. When I was looking into it, like it sounds, I don't even know what the word is. I love the concept.
There was just like, it's just the truth of the matter. And I guess that goes into what you're saying about my storytelling and authentically telling stories. When I looked at my skill set, when I looked at all the things that I have achieved, there was always like, either a Black woman right there, literally opening, more so kicking down the door for me to get in, or cheering me on and being like, no, 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 this is the way that you kind of maneuver the thing and get in this way, and then you can do that, you know, or just calming me down, like, do you know what? I'm from a whole Thornton Heath, I'm not having it. And then like, nah, that can wait, actually. Just get this thing done. And if you still want to box someone, box them, but at least you got that thing done. And so I could never sit down and write such a book, trying to what's the word I'm looking for? My God. Trying to share, wow, imagine. Trying to share my experiences in a way that I've moved through all of these different industries that are basically tethered together via creativity, and just be like, these are all the things that I magically learn out of nowhere. That's not the truth of the matter. I owe so much to Black women growing up and in my professional life and all over. And I was just like, also, I'm tired of, if I'm really honest, I see a lot of other Black men pretending to do the work in spaces because it's a favorable thing to do, almost to gain access in different ways, and are not actually doing the work or providing safe spaces for women that look like their mothers. It's wild to me.
I think the way women are treated in society, very generally speaking, is disgusting, very disgusting, and that it manifests itself in so many different ways. And it's something that I've only really starting to, because you know, you hear things like this, but it's only something that I'm only starting to really appreciate as I'm getting older and more recently. And I see a lot of abuse, man, on social media and stuff. And when you look at the workplace and the disparities, whether it's a pay disparity or this and that, blah, blah, blah. And I've heard a number of excuses. I've heard people say, oh, it's because women, will go on mat leave, for example, and fall behind their peers. And then my stance on that is like, okay, that's very factual. Okay, they go on mat leave or whatnot. Cool. They're the ones birthing and bringing in the next leaders. That literally will be nothing. We will not be here because of that. And if they have to take out a year or a few months or whatever out of their career in order to birth and bring forth life, which is the most precious and beautiful thing ever, we need to do everything we bloody can to push them and make sure that, you know, like, push them and make sure that the workplace is as inclusive and as welcoming, and that nobody's falling behind, because it's not right and it's not fair that people are penalised for that kind of a thing. Yeah,
I would say to that we live in a capitalist society, so therefore everything is competition and everything is, how can I do more than you, better than you? That's just the way that everything is garnered. How many likes did I get? How many views did I get? How many listens did I get? How many books did I sell? Etc. etc. Where actually, if our society, if we can, and I use that word ironically because I don't think it's just crumbling, isn't it? Everything's falling apart. But actually, if we concentrated on community in the way that we are meant to, and I say that just naturally, like naturally we need community. Doesn't it feel good when like I back your idea and I really support what you're doing and you're able to return that? Isn't that such a better experience than the competition of the thing? I don't care how you dress that up. Like competition is not fun. Approval is great. Recognition is the word I'm looking for. Recognition is great. Like that is amazing what you've done, but also that's about it. But yeah, everything is garnered towards the competition of the thing. And I say all of that just to say, if we didn't live in that kind of construct or that kind of thinking, the idea that women taking time off for mat leave, etc., wouldn't be so mind blowing that yes, it should be paid full rights. And even after that, do you know, like how many conversations I have regards to childcare and how expensive that is on top of it's ridiculous, and how there is next to no help for those things. I think they're about to change. I think they're about to change even the law, like
like subsidizing nursery spaces.
Yeah, and even I'm thinking about now like tax on period products. It's the language of the thing as well, because before you would say sanitary, but actually the connotations around using the word sanitary are really kind of disrespectful actually. So period products. It's just all of these things, and I'm glad that you said that, like I'm just realizing, which is completely fine, because we've lived in the thing has been the thing, and I think now we're like, hold on a minute, what is this, why is that like that? Why do we have to do it this way? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Language is very, very important, and oftentimes we use words or phrases and don't even realize the mental image that we're painting within our own heads, within our own subconscious, and that we're projecting out to other people when we're using words that have been projected onto us. Language is very, very important. So, and just to take it back a bit as well, talking about black women, and me only realizing more recently just this, like when people say that black women are the ones that have fought for black rights and etc., that kind of thing, and you hear it and you might not appreciate it. What I've realized since I've started 1000 Voices, I've been doing it for 2 years now, is that the majority of our supporters come from black women. And I can see it very tangibly, the majority. If we look at the split between podcast guests, I don't know the exact numbers, but definitely the majority of women. There's been times where we've had like 6-7 weeks in a row, just women. And I'm actively trying to get a male voice on, and it's just not easy. I'm getting a lot of, maybe no response or whatever. And I get, obviously not everybody's going to be free all the time. So I don't have an issue if you're not available to come on, but it's not that I'm reaching out to more women. It's not that I'm asking more women for more support. They're just the ones that are more willing to offer their support, to offer advice, to offer their ear, to come on and to add to this platform that we're building.
Yeah. It's really interesting in terms of when it comes to my relationship with black men is really interesting, especially the way that masculinity, or the concept of what is masculine and what isn't, really affects us. I also think my synergy for black women just comes from a space of being black and gay. And so my biggest defenders, especially when I couldn't be bothered to defend myself, because sometimes, not every day, I know I'm from Croydon, but not every day I want to fight, you know. Like, I know how to fight and I know how to rock a jaw. That doesn't mean like that is like, no one's born like that. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm down for the peace and I'm down for the kumbaya completely. If you need something, ask me. I will give that to you. But I'm just reflecting what all the black women throughout my life up until this point, and will do beyond, undoubtedly have done. But I say that to say that because I've always had that protection, because I know my masculinity isn't wrapped up in how much I can bench press or who I stood up to. It's also wrapped in how soft I can be and how forgiving I can be, which are things that we more time associate with femininity. But I do find, but then I'm just thinking that also I've always made a point of like all of my male friends, specifically my straight male friends, they're very comfortable within themselves. And if I've done something well, they will show it with flowers, and it's just love, you know? And I've made a good job of just not being in spaces or company that isn't understood. And also that women will always be respected in our presence, and we're not going to have it. But yeah, but I just think because women are natural carers as well. It's innate. I mean, men are too. Do not get me wrong. But we don't live in a society that really pushes that. We live in a society that is like, men are the hunters, da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. And actually, like, I don't know, it's cute to go home and bake a cake for yourself. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's cute to, like, it's cool. Like, find your peace. Like, it's like, if that's one thing that I could say to other black men that's still live in that space, and I'm not blaming them as well. I meet that energy and I'm never angry at it. I'm always interested in I've been recently listening a lot to Kendrick Lamar's, it's not his first album, but it was Good Kid, Mad City.
Yeah.
And where he's got Maya Angelou at the end praying for them. You're dying of thirst towards the end of that. I've been listening to that skit over, I don't know why, but I guess it was in preparation for this because everything always lines up. But my thinking around it has just been like, God, how many people need that moment from someone to just listen and be like, I understand why you're angry, but just to stop you. And more time, I say this in the book as well, that black men in one way or another aren't able to even hear those prayers anymore because they're trying to survive as the next. And sometimes I think it gallops into jealousy of black women, the magic of black women, the resilience of black women. Who do you know more resilient than any black woman in your life? Knock down, get up, knock down, get up.
For real.
Oh, you gave me nothing. Blah, blah, blah. Magic. Go away and take your thing and double it up and bring it back. Are you mad? Like, there's no one. And I think the combination of toxic masculinity, jealousy, and I do not say that as a par, I just mean, you know, what you're saying about words. So just to be clear, I mean that from a space of, I wish that I could do that. The yearning, I wish that I could be that magical. How could I ever match your magic? But also, we're not taught that. I truly believe that everybody's abilities and in some areas lack of abilities are meant to go together. Because when we're all talking together, I can hear all of your voices, which means that I can hear the uniqueness of my voice and where I can fit into support. I said it once on Kalechi's podcast, like, you can't make a pound with 99 pennies. You need 100 pennies to make a pound, or it's not a pound. Meaning we need all of us, 1,000 voices or more, to get there. I will go off on one, so if I'm not making sense, be like, bruv, like, bring it back in. But no. It's a free-flowing conversation, so I will just chat.
It's all good.
Okay.
It's good, it's good. I want to take it back slightly. You spoke about your masculinity not being wrapped in how much you could bench. And then I forgot the exact phrase you used afterwards, but it was something alluding something to along the lines of basically your masculinity not being mastering how much you can bench, and you being maybe more in touch with your feminine aspects or feminine side, femininity. I
think I learned this a long time ago, or my uncle showed me it. I'm quite flamboyant. I talk with my hands a lot. I'm not ka, but I talk with my hands.
Yes.
And my uncle was like, yeah, because you mimic your mum. And I was like, what? And he was like, your mum talks with her hands and the way you talk like your mum. You're mimicking your mum. And from that moment, I was like, that's so dope.
But children just
this is what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, like
they don't even know.
I talk like my mum. Like, what do you mean? To you now, when you're like, oh, he's camp. Okay, I'm camp like my. I'm what like. I can still rock your jaw. Like that. Two things can be true at the same time.
But have you ever had that, like, that toxic masculinity sort of, all right, I can bench more than you. Have you ever been that person before? Because I'm wondering if you've ever been that person and whether you've gone on a journey to be who you are now.
I've always argued with that person and been like, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't feel right. I don't think I've fully turned into that person. Big up my grandmother. She's no longer with us, but she would always, in other parts of my family, be like, "Our boys don't cry, da 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 da," and she was the first one. And always, if you want to cry, cry. If you feel brand off, let it out. Don't it? Yeah, she would be like, let it out, and
I love it.
Let it out, let it out. You just have to let it out, and you'll feel better. She always used to say that, and always used to drill that in. But at the same time, in school, in secondary school, primary school, what's being taught in my household isn't necessarily being taught in everyone else's household. So I would say that I don't feel like I was ever toxic in that way. I don't think I'm not sitting there trying to claim I always had the right language or the way to do things. And a year from now, some of the things I'm saying right now would have evolved, and I'm like, that was where you wanted to be in your thought process. Like, I would have jumped even by tomorrow, to be honest. Excuse me. But yeah, I can't sit here and say that I've ever been that person. I bring up my grandma because, like, morals were always important. You always treat people good, always please and thank yous, always be honest, and tell the truth. You don't have to be literally as tall as this mic, but she was the loveliest person, but also will bad up anybody. Like, you will hear what she's got to say and you will believe her when she's speaking. And I always also wanted to be like that. And then my grandfather as well, very stoic, very quiet. And somehow being both those things still demanded all the respect and attention. He walked in a room and you felt his presence. And I thought that was the coolest stuff ever. And those are the people that I wanted to be like. I say that just to say that growing up, I was trying to be like the two coolest people that I knew, but society and the norms are trying to push you in this other way. Not to mention being gay as well and growing up in Croydon. And also being out and bad from day. I don't have a big coming out story. It was like 15, 16. I think he's actually attractive. This one over here, what? Knockout, okay? He knows how to fight. And with family, it wasn't a thing. I'm very lucky, you know? I don't have a stereotypical, and then this one didn't talk to me or this or that or that. It was just very much like, yeah, can kind of see it is what it is. But I was still very much like a road ute as well. Do you know what I mean? So like, it's a weird one. It's a really good question as well. Yeah. You see me working it out and being like, oh, I've never thought about it. But like, yeah, in short, I wouldn't say that I fully turned into that person and had to come out of it. I think it was just like that thing that I said earlier, where we're all in this space now. We're like, what is this? Whether we're trying to talk about the clear violence and genocide happening with Palestinians, etc., etc., and then you've got the definition of words being changed around, like, no, you can't say that because it's this and it's that. And it's like, no, I can clearly see that babies are being killed for no apparent reason. And I can see that you're moving them over here and also saying this is a safe region, and it feels like you're moving them there, particularly, not even feels like, we can see that you're moving them there and then attacking that space. We've all done the research. We've now read up on X, Y, Z, right? But yet these new definitions and the way that the goalposts are being moved are being moved in the most obvious fashion now, because there's nowhere to hide. There's nowhere to hide. Yeah.
I'm trying to, and I'm going off on a slightly different, very different tangent.
Please don't apologise. How many ways have I gone off now? All good.
But it's an interesting space we're in now. And so you're big on storytelling in your work. You talk about it. And what I'm trying to understand more about you and how you've become who you are today. You've become the person you are today. You spoke about, it makes sense when you talk about your grandparents and your grandmother in particular, and her not mixing her words and just being who she is. And then you picking up on that just by proximity, probably just because you're around her all the time. Most people, and you didn't have a big coming out story. You said it and then you fight someone, whatever, cool, if they got something to say. Most people, especially when they're young, are still trying to find themselves. You got them people who, younger people, might be acting out and acting badder than they really are until they find themselves. You got kids who might be very quiet and shy until they find out who they really are. Some people, not even everybody even never finds out, might still win that journey 10, 20, 30 years on. But most people, when they're 15, 16, they're not like standing on their laurels like, okay, this is me, this is who I am, like it or not. I feel that it's either one, just through over time, maybe through family or some just through different experiences and that kind of thing, you learn to come into that space, or you just have some kind of a big event of some sort, a life event, a personal event, an event to someone else, where you just think, fuck this, I'm who I am. It is what it is, and this is me, and I'm proud of who I am, and like it or not. Have you, like, in your upbringing, or maybe in your late teens, early 20s, any kind of period? Because again, there's different stories. When I've done my research, I'm listening to different podcasts you've been on and things like that. I've heard different things about. So let me get this up. Yeah. When I was doing my research, I was listening to, I can't remember which podcast it was, but there was a story you told about your old workplace. I don't know if it was Nana or if it was someone else, but they said something about your colleague's hair. It might have been Nana.
Yeah, it was Nana. You've really done your research.
We do our research here. But then, you weren't even that long there. And then you said, nah, I'm going to say what I got to say. And it was someone senior. Most people ain't going to do it. Most people are going to be scared.
Yeah.
But it seems like you've been that person since from 15 up until whatever age you were then, even till now.
Yeah, I think in terms of that story and me running my mouth like that, my thing is, like, I'm from Croydon. I'm from Croydon. I'm from people getting jacked. I'm from knife fights. I'm from being rushed and rushing. So you, a CEO, I'm meant to be scared of. Are you mad? Like, I don't care. Like, you can't. I've been through worse. I've always been through worse. I don't know if there was a big event. There is, in the first chapter, it's called, in the book, Black Women Always, the first chapter is called The Past. And the way that book is set up is essays on certain subject matters, and then they're followed with conversations with the Black women in my life that are relevant to those situations in my life, or who taught me or inspired me regards to my outlook on those subjects. So there's a chapter about boundaries with Julie Aganuga, which I thought she taught me, but in the chapter we find out she's like, I didn't even know that's the thing that I handed over to you, kind of thing. Because basically she used to drive around in like a smart car, and that was the first thing. She's like, no, I've got a smart car because I don't want to be giving everybody, like the 2-seater smart car. So I don't want to be giving everybody lifts, so I just got a smart car. And then when we first met, it was on a set for something and I was directing her in something. And like, you just butt people in it and like, you just click.
Yeah.
And at that point, she was just like, yeah, we should hang out. We should hang out. And I was like, great, great. She was like, make it soon though, make it soon. And there was this big rush with her. And I just didn't get round to it. Like, we just didn't get round to it. But I was like, no, we're brethren. I can tell that we're going to be cool for years. And then she got the job at Apple Beats Radio. And then her number changed and like access changed. And I was like, oh, that boundary's been put up in place because you knew your circumstances were going to change and people need different access. But again, when I was talking to her about it and telling her my perspective, she was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, that's what I took from it. We still were brethren, obviously, and like whatever. Anyway, in that first chapter or essay, The Past, I talk about how much I was bullied at school by my teachers. They were racist. And at the time, I didn't have the language, but they were very racist. They would go to my mum and be like, he's really slow. He needs to be put into a special class/school. And my mum was like, no, not sure. And they'd be like, cool, take this work and see if you can do the work. I'd go home and do the work just like that. In fact, in the conversation, my mum reveals that she would also get work that was like a year or two above me, give it to me, and I'd be like, yeah. So she'd go back and be like, you're not engaging with him in the right, he's bored. He's very, very bored. He does have some problems in terms of spelling, and he talks about the words moving. So I'm not entirely sure if, I don't even think dyslexia was a widely used term at the time, but there's something there. But in terms of like his maths explanation, all of the things in these things, he's doing a year 2, 3 above, and he's doing it like it's a waste of his time. He's bored in the classrooms. That's what's going on. And they weren't having it. And like, it was just a standoff. Anyway, one day we're in a assembly, and there's these two black girls that I thought were like the dopest ever. And they're talking in the middle of the assembly and not shutting up. And so the teacher tries to switch on them, and he's like, come up to the front now. And she like rolled her eyes, kissed her teeth, was like, no. And then looked at her brethren, laughed, and carried on chatting. Now, at that point in primary school, you're just meant to listen to the teacher. That, if I never saw that incident, like, from that day on, I was like, hold on a minute. I can say no. Like, I can do what I want to do. But bearing in mind, I've got my mum, I've got my dad as well. Like, I don't really have a relationship with my dad right now, but I will say growing up until like the age of 18, of all of my cousins and friends, my father was the only one that was still in my household. Everyone else went to go and see, mostly, but everyone else had to go and see their dad on a weekend or whatever. So I still had my dad around, who very much from an early age was explaining to me and my brother why there were so many Independence Days and where those Independence Days came from. And everything, all the terrible history about this clapped island, basically. And then don't forget, I have my grandparents who are like, this is how you behave, please, thank you, da-da-da-da-da. So in one space at school, I'm now sticking up for myself, but also I really want to be like my grandparents. If anything, that was probably the inciting kind of thing. And then Croydon is like Croydon. I know everyone's like moving there now and trying to make it cute. But when I was growing up in Croydon, like, it was absolutely wild, wild west. And not only Croydon, like, half my time was in Croydon, if not even more time was in Thornton Heath. Like, I'm proper like Thornton Heath Pond / Norbury boy. And them times were wild. Like, I'm not to say they're not wild now, but they were definitely wild. And I went through some things and I had to back it for my brethren as well. I think when I talk about Kelechi being my sister, it's 100% also from a space of like, I recognize where she's from and I'm from. So I know that if I get into a fight, she's going to jump in like my Brenges did when I was like 15. I don't have many of those friends kind of left. They're either locked up. I'm not even laughing at them being locked up, but I'm like, what a life. But they're locked up, or they're not with us anymore, or I can't roll with those people anymore because it's like, actually, it's not the same thing. But there's something in Kalechi where we are from the same place and period of time, and what friendship was in, I guess, like the mid 90s, late 90s, you know, those friends that you're going to lie on the Bible for in court. You are going to like anything they need, like you're there, you caught a body, okay, where are we burying this body? Do you know what I mean? And yeah, so just to answer your question, I would say maybe that. But other than that, back to you bringing up the Nana conversation and that kind of story, my tenacity, I guess, or me being this bold and advocating for myself just comes from the simple truth of like, I've been through worse. I've always been through worse. And I've always gotten better and done better and moved into better spaces. So yeah, like it was the big boss. He came in, he was talking to Nana like that. And Nana was the one that gave me my first job in advertising. I'd been to all of those other big boy spaces. And when I spoke to them at that time, we're talking about 2014, 15. And I'm talking about culture in the way that people talk about culture now. And I'm talking about, remember, because no one apparently knew about racism until 2020, right? Or diversity and all of these jobs that no longer exist because everyone's being defunded. And we don't have budget for that anymore. But prior to that, I was like, I knew within advertising, at the core of advertising was black culture. More time specifically, black queer culture, but just black culture, right? And what advertising does, and those agencies specifically do, with creatives that normally do not look like me, more time are like cool little white boys from East London in New Balance, fitted cap, and their Sherpa jackets. We'll go to a rave here or this or that, pick up one word and be like, this is how we turn it into the thing. And I used to just be like, you lot aren't even the architects of the thing. So how is it that you're on all of this big boy money and none of it is going back into the culture? So I will go into these interviews and like be like, yeah, I can do all of your creative stuff, but I'm interested in how you deliver that work, where that work comes from, and how people are being compensated for you mining them. Black Twitter is a real thing. It's not just like, it's not just like this thing we made up. Black Twitter is worth billions, if not zillions.
Trend setting.
Right. And they used to be like, okay, I'm not going to be able to be here. Come and meet Nana. I say all of this. She's like, yeah, you're 100% right. Of course. Da, 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 da. But at that time, Nana was like the head of production. I wanted to be creative. And she was like, well, I need like an editor. But my only thing is like, you can come and do that job and then we can try and get you in. I was like, say no more. So we had that bond already. Nana, I say it all the time, is as dark as my grandfather. So in that respect, like, I'm going to take off your head if you try it with Nana. And this guy came in, who's not a monster. He's actually one of my favorite people, but I had to check him because the normalcy of, I don't even know if normalcy is a word, but everyone understood what I meant.
We know what it means, yeah.
Of those spaces at that time is to come in and say the most wild racist things and nobody would check you on it. It's to come in and say the most sexist things and nobody would check you on it. The most homophobic things, the most transphobic things, all of those things, because all of those companies, the foundation of those companies are the shape of them are middle-class, white, male, short, no rhythm, probably doesn't wash legs. I'm going too far, sorry, but they're shaped in a particular way that do not look like you, that do not look like me or Nana. Everything is based around the culture that those particular men thriving, grew up in, etc. So for instance, the easiest way to get a job at that point in time not even get a job, sorry, but get on jobs, like projects that were going on within the agency, you had to be at the pub.
Yeah.
And I'm not about that life, you know.
It's
I'm
like
not.
in a lot of workplaces.
That's a mad thing to me, because me growing up in South Norwood now, we had to come off the street when Crystal Palace had finished their games, because all of them lot will come out and be on a mad thing and be racist. And especially if we were out and then they made it to the pub, it's them lot that are shouting out monkey noises and things like that. Do you get it? So like, me go and jam with you lot in the pub. No, I'm all right, actually. But then how do I like maneuver that thing? And Nana was key in that. She was like, right, jealousy is your friend. What? Jealousy is your friend. This one hates this one because he's jealous that this one got a bonus. So if you go to this one and he thinks you're working with that one on this other project, he's going to bring you into this other one.
Right.
So she starts to teach me politics. But at the same time, she won't mind me saying, because we talk about it, Nana had been so involved in that world that she's maneuvering around the thing, but they're saying the most wild things, like about her hair, or like what she's wearing, or what food she's eating, things like that. And she's like, ah, ha, 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 ha. But remember me, I'm a road you, innit? So when I first got in there and he's come in now and he's like, oh, what you've done to your hair? What's it got to do with you? Why are you asking about her hair? When I say I roused up the man, and Nana was just like that, and I thought, do you know what? Even if you fire me in this moment because you've got to, I know that I sat here with my whole chest and defended you. Get it? But then he was like, he went red and was like, oh, no, I didn't mean it like that. And I was like, well, just don't. You can just come in and say hello, be normal. And so he left. I thought, oh, this woman's going to fire me. And then the next day she was like, I ordered us matching silk pillows to try them out. Because at that point, I just started growing my hair. I've recently cut off my locks. They were like down here.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. But yeah, she was like, I brought us silk pillows. I was like, oh, okay. And then she just really hugged me and walked off. And I was like, no one's defended you like that in here. So I would race them up all the time. And she'd be like, yeah, I'll have a word with him. And then we'd go out to lunch and just boss up about it.
Yeah. Now, quickly, before we get into this episode, a quick word from our sponsor, us. Or in other words, 1000 Visuals, the production company behind 1000 Voices. With 1000 Voices, I was looking for a studio that had that high quality cinematic and homely feel to it, but I just couldn't find anywhere. So we decided to open up our own space. We've got 4 high quality cinema cameras. We've got shotgun mics, not those podcasting mics that cover half your face as well, so people can see you when you're speaking to them. And we've got some basic amenities as well. Water, herbal teas, espressos, you name it. We'd love to invite you to come down to our space to create some content with us. If you are interested, check the link in the description, and I'd love to take you on a tour of this space and invite you to come record some stuff with us. Thank you. Now let's get back to the episode. Well, that's good though. That's good. The people who following the rules and being quiet when you see things that are wrong and they believe in and not speaking up, I get why people do it. It makes sense. It's
survival.
Not easy. It's survival, 100%. Like you said, this is your job on the line.
Yeah.
It's potentially survival makes 100% make sense, but that's not how you move the dial, man. That's not how you move the dial in life. That's not how we change things. We need to challenge things when things are wrong, but it's a thin line because it's tough.
Yeah.
Like I'm saying, not only is it survival, just tough on a personal level to stand up and say, if you're by yourself, you know, might not back you, and you're standing up and saying something that you might believe in, then you might get gaslit and people are like, oh, no, I didn't mean that, or this, that make you feel like a certain type of way. You think, oh, should I have said that, or should I have just kept quiet and all that? It's not easy. But I think those are the people who, the unapologetic people who stand up for what they believe in, are the ones who shift the dial and drive change in the world, like literally.
Yeah. It's really, I learned in that first job, because there were 1 or 2, maybe 3 other black people in that building. Imagine there's like 400 people in that building. I want to say maybe 4 other black people in that building, and specifically one in particular was like that I think it's Miss Jocelyn skit. I'm so sorry, Miss Jocelyn skit, where the other black person comes in the office, like, shh, they know we're black kind of thing. It was very much that energy. And I used to just be like, nah, bun you. And then I realized, I was like, you're surviving. And we may not see eye to eye in the way that we do things, but I understand if you're surviving, you're operating from a space of fear, and you shouldn't even be scared in this space. And that's not right. And I'm now not going to add to that fear by being your enemy. I'm still going to like spud you. I'm still going to be whatever. I understand that you can't always back me. And maybe I'm the one that's got to take all of the bullets, and bit by bit, the thing changes. But that's one thing, man. I can't go into spaces and I see people operating in a certain space. I don't try to bad them up or hot them up or make them feel guilty, because, yeah, not everyone is from a Croydon like me. So where in my head, my reference point to like, is this dangerous, is, do you have a Bora? Do you know what I mean? Not, am I going to lose my job? I can make money anytime. Like, I can lose any job and I'll go and I'll do what I have to do to make money. And I don't even mean that just in like an illegal sense. I just know that I'm an alchemist. I'm more than equipped to make something out of nothing. And also, prior to going into that first job, I was freelancing as a photographer. So I was up and down doing all of these different jobs. And making money which way and the other, like, trying to get stuff up. The reason why I went into advertising is because there were lots of other people around me who weren't as talented and like buying houses. And I was like, there's something wrong with my money, because you lot are being paid a different, something's missing here. You're not as good as me, but yet I just brought a house in da-da-da Brighton, la la la. And it's like, what? And so in my mind, I was like, you're getting those big boy briefs. And I need to learn how to like pitch and how that thing works. Let me go and learn advertising. So that's why I wanted to get into advertising. But yeah. And then realized I was good at storytelling. But I'm good at storytelling because of Notorious B.I.G.
Legend.
The best. Christopher Wallace. I'm
smoothest.
The smoothest.
Yeah.
You see all these other rappers and their long-winding explanations of a thing, where Biggie would just say, "Mum cruxed up over the casket, screaming bastard, crying. No, my friends are lying. You know who killed him, filled him with." Already, I've just given you a whole. That's one episode.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's just in that space, and I just thought that was the dopest shit ever. I was just like,
no wasted words.
No wasted.
His delivery is on point as well.
Yeah.
Everything.
And that's the key to advertising as well. The acronym that we use in advertising is KISS, keep it simple, stupid. So if your ideas, say like you decided like you're this, I don't want to call it a podcast because I feel like it's such a bigger thing and a bigger movement, because actually this is podcast, book, TV show, documentary series, clothing. You can go anywhere with this. It's so simple. It's 1,000 voices, and you're one one season might be 1,000 voices of different bits to make up that 1,000 voices. Your second season will be another 1,000 voices, etc., etc. Simple idea. You see how far I went with it, because it's so simple. It's a good idea. If you were like, it's 1,042 voices because in 1942, bruv, you've lost me. Like, what do you mean? Like, it's too much. Keep it simple, stupid. Biggie Smalls was the best at that. He was the best at that, in my opinion. And even like the one teacher that I've always rated, Miss Hardy, I wonder if she's still alive. I was always good at arguing my case. Again, wanted to be like my grandma, because no one could read anyone like my grandma. She'd say the wildest things and hurt your soul. I'd be like, wow. And,
you took it there.
Yeah, just like grandma. She's like, no, like just cussing. Anyway, Miss Hardy was the first one to be like, I wasn't really getting Shakespeare. Bearing in mind, I wasn't diagnosed with dyslexia until I was 30. So even back when my mum was like, there's something with, no, he's just being silly. No, he's not. He's done the work. He's explained it in his own way, but he's done the work. Meanwhile, I've got literally Ryan, a whole real person, and Leroy getting special treatment because they need help with like this dyslexia thing. But I didn't have it. I was just being a class clown. And yeah, Ryan and Leroy were both white.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Miss Hardy was a don because she was just like, when I ask you to orally explain and tell me what it is that you think about the thing, you can just, where does that come from? And I was just like, oh, I want to be like Biggie Smalls, da 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 da. And so she broke down like the rhyming pattern. Like, do you see he's doing A B A B da 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 da? I was like, yeah. She's like, well, now okay, let's read this bit of Shakespeare. Do you see it's this that 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 that? And it clicked, and I was like, oh, so da da da. Now he's saying this, and la la la. She's like, yeah, that's it. And so from then, storytelling was really my thing. Photography was Biggie Smalls. You know, I never wanted to be a rapper. I've said this before. I didn't think that I could rap like that, but I felt like I could snap like that. So all of them, like my photography, especially early photography, was like snapshot and very in the moment because I'm just trying to capture that one feeling of everything in that picture.
Yeah.
Which then led into playing around with like film, which always has been in my life because like, again, with my mother especially, like we'd go to cinema for everything. Always in Blockbuster. What should we rent tonight? What should we rent tonight? What should we rent tonight? So film has always been there. And I don't want to sit here and be like, I saw that it was going to be this and that and that. It's just I realized at this point where I'm at, I can see, oh, this set me up for this set me up for this and this, and then bringing it all together. So my like uniqueness in the way that I tell stories, my honesty, all of those things, it's all from all of those elements. It's boys trying to off me in Croydon. It's my grandmother being the loveliest, supporting, loveliest supporting head of like matriarch. No, what's the word I'm looking for?
Matron?
Yeah, I guess so. It doesn't seem like a big enough word for her, but just like the loveliest supporting and always encouraging me to be me. I would be in her kitchen. I was like, Grandma, so what happens if I put this in the egg? She's like, I don't know. Let's find out. You know? So like just there wasting food, to be fair. But she's just like, well, maybe I'll be a scientist. So let's see. So there's me putting vinegar, mixing it with egg and this and that and leaving it to see what happens. Obviously mold and nastiness, but now I know, kind of thing. My grandfather being really stoic and on his morals, and no one ever, not necessarily not having a bad thing to say about him. You know, men and women lie, but they could never say that he treated them badly or he robbed them of anything or that he lied about how he felt about anything. You want to get me roused, tell a lie on me that I lied about how I dealt with you or what I said. It will be a wrap. I cannot stand it. But if we have a disagreement, tell the full story, and I will stand by it. Be like, yeah, I said that about your mum. What? And I would take that L. But I also think I come from a time just before the internet where you couldn't run your gums and not get boxed for it.
The internet's changed a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of, with 1,000 Voices, when we put out some episodes, we get these like mad troll racist comments sometimes.
Yeah.
Like mad. It's always behind a fake account. It's never the real person with their name and picture. It's just some troll that's clearly sat through the entire episode because they're referencing stuff in the episode.
Yeah.
They will put some mad comment. Like, you got time, man.
Yeah.
Too much time on your
Whereas I'm outside Morley's, like, just like, let's just fight. And whoever loses, loses, and then you move on. But I think I watched the internet kind of come into birth into these new rules. In the early days of Twitter, I don't have Twitter anymore because that madman took over and I was like, bun that. But in the early, and it's probably a good thing because I was wild because I was just like, this is my location. And like, people are like, yo, and I'm like, no, I don't, you can't run your gums like that and not. And then you start to realize like, oh, this is like a new way that you have to deal with trolls in a different way and this and that and that. But even then it curved, and then I was like a proper PRS in those early days because then I was like, oh no, I can also argue like this kind of thing. But I think all of it comes together. The Biggie Smalls, my grandmother, Croydon, there's a lot of trauma for me in Croydon, but also there's a lot of situations where I'm fearless because, like I said, if I compare it, it's like I've made that through that.
Well, there's a lot of things, isn't it? It's like a lot of things have just sort of been added to this pot and made you who you are today. And that description of your family dynamic is a beautiful thing with your grandparents, actually, the way you describe it. It's like a lot of people, black people here, Caribbean background. Yeah, I'm African background. A lot of people here, the grandparents are going to be back home.
Yes.
So you don't hear those stories of that type of dynamic. My grandparents, both my grandfathers passed before. One passed before I was born, one passed when I was like 3, I think 2 or 3. So I'd never met either of them two.
Right.
And my grandmothers were in Ghana.
Right.
So you don't get that type of relationship. And that's not just me, that's pretty much probably all my friends. All my friends from the African background.
Yeah.
It's the same
Yeah.
narrative. You don't have that level of relationship with family back home. But it's a beautiful thing to hear it described the way you describe it. You know, I want to talk about, is it POC or is it POCC? How do you?
POC, People of Culture Collective.
Okay, God, I knew it wasn't going to be people of colour.
No.
Because you don't like that term.
Hate that term.
I wasn't sure. Okay. So, POC, you're big on storytelling. I'm assuming, tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming that POC came about because Black and Asian people, their stories weren't being told properly. And then you and Nana and the team decided we're going to do something about that and tell them the way they should be told.
So what had happened was, Nana, we were in that first agency, and then they tried it with Nana. They didn't know Nana's brother was a lawyer. So he was like, I'm sorry, what? And they were like, oh, we're sorry. La 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 la. So she left. Long story short, went traveling for a while. And then I was in that place with kind of Out Her, which again was stressful because all the people that hadn't been able to get me were trying to get me. But by that point, I'd learned as much as I could from Nana in terms of like politics and understanding how to maneuver the thing. So I think we was there for another 2 years, did what we need to do, went on to another agency. The guy that was our boss there had previously actually been Nana's boss in the agency I'd just come from. I never met that guy. He was there years ago. And then he went off, and then there was this new agency that was in town, and we met with him, got a job. Nana came back, ended up working at that space. There was me, Nana, and 2 other Black people again. And it was the same thing, like, and also by that point we'd met like 1 or 2 other Black people in advertising. And we were like, this is really weird. Like it cannot just be us. This is so strange. And the same things were happening. She'd been away for like 1.5 years traveling, came back into that space, and language being used is like, oh, that's so urban. Like, I don't want this ad to be so urban when it came to casting, you know.
In other words, so Black.
Yeah. And then they look at us and be like, yeah, we know what you mean, and it needs to be diverse. So me and Nana have been on this journey conversation about diversity for real, for a very long time. And that shows up in all so many different ways. In my early work to now in advertising, every single one of my decks have always been diverse. Whereas if you looked at my deck or presentation of like the work that we're trying to make compared to specifically my white peers, it would just be white face after white face, da 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 da. Even though you were on Black Twitter last night learning the lingo and the dance of the thing, all of a sudden it's all white people here. When it came to, I cannot tell you how many casting directors I fired because I'm like, oh, I told you I wanted it diverse. Why have you sent me all white people? Oh, we couldn't. Okay, thank you for your time. Find someone else and make a stink about it. Think I'm going to sit here and be Satan's puppet? I don't think so. Like, no, make it diverse. On this planet of billions of people, you couldn't find any Black people that live in this area or have this interest. Are you all right?
In London.
In London. So anyway, this is constantly going on. Very like I said, the racism, the sexism. that last place that we left, there was a guy. I have a creative partner within advertising. For anyone who doesn't know, you have creative, you have a team. So one is like words and one is like images, art director, copywriter. Myself and Tom have been together since we first met in that first week of working with Nana. We're best friends. And we do both. Like, I do copy, he does copy and whatever. But traditionally, just so people can get their heads around it, you have one that's in charge of images, art director, one that's in charge of copy, like I said. So if you were making an advert for 1,000 voices, Tom really might look at the language of like what is being said in that advert. And then together, the other side of the brain, I would be like, this is the imagery that we need. This is da, 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 da. Right. With that being said, we go to every agency we go as a duo. Our salary isn't split. So if I'm on 120K, Tom is on 120K. If you try to fire one, the other one's going to quit. You get like, you just get us as one, right? All of that to say that in that last agency, examples of sexism, racism, there was a guy who was high up, our boss effectively, and he started to do things like try to leave me off of emails and things like that to try and basically catch me out. But Tom wasn't having it because Tom is a true definition of an ally and was like, no, why did you do that? Da, 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 da. Which then led on to him trying to bully Tom and ask inappropriate questions like, oh, do you have a girlfriend? Yeah. Oh, do you have a picture of her breasts?
Wait, what?
Yeah. Wild things like that. I've said it and I'll say it again. For some reason, the Me Too movement or conversation somehow missed advertising. But I think something's going to happen and all of those dirty men are going to get caught up in it and it's all going to come tumbling down because everybody was just focusing on Hollywood and certain other spaces. But advertising is disgusting in the way that women are treated and all of these things, right? I just say that to give context to like how disgusting that environment.
What kind of a wild comment is that?
Wild. Have you ever seen Mad Men?
Yeah.
You seen it?
Yeah.
That's a documentary, bruv. It's a documentary. You watch it like, oh my God, that would be wild. It's just like, I remember watching it because I couldn't get my head around how these grown men were allowed to walk around and do and say all of these things. And Tom said to me, have you watched Mad Men? I was like, no, it's just like full of white middle class. Why would I watch that? He was like, watch it. And that's why I love Tom as well, because like I will say things like that. He won't bat, because I'm not lying, like he won't bat an eyelid. And he was like, watch that show and then we'll talk about what this job is. And I remember like it had finished by then. So I went through the whole thing. Is it 5 series, 4 series?
No, I think it's a bit longer than that. But I watched it a long time ago. I can't.
But yeah, but I went through the whole thing in like, I want to say maybe 3 weeks, maybe 4. I was like, oh, that's what this place is. All of you think you're Don Draper. Like all of you actually think you're it. All of you think you're it and don't understand that at any moment I would take you outside and rock your job. Like all of you are actually mad. So all of that to say, I'm just trying to build what agencies are actually like and have been like. So we get to this new agency. Nana finally comes back. She's no longer my boss. She's like, now she's my colleague, right? Because she's not running the department anymore. I've stepped up also in my level. And all of these mad things are still happening. People are being very funny, very sly, how they're saying things. We're constantly arguing about things. Getting little comments like me, Nana, and the 2 other black people worked there. I remember one morning we were all in a corner just being like, I can't remember the thing that we were talking about, right? And one of the senior heads, white lady, comes over. She was like, oh, it's a gang meeting. Ha ha ha. Like wild things like that.
Yeah, crazy.
Crazy. Anyway, very quickly, Black Panther comes out. So me and Nana go to see Black Panther. Everyone's gassed. Nana, we need to build Wakanda. Like Wakanda needs to be real. We need to find all the other black people. It can't just be us. Not even just black people, but global majority. We just need to, it cannot just be us going through these mad things. And so we started a WhatsApp group. And to be really honest with you, I've said it a million times, I really thought it was going to be like 20, 25 people in the group. Within that first day, maybe the second day, full capacity. And we're like, oh. And then more people wanted to join, and we're like, all right, we need to start like another group or get a way to like extend it, and working with WhatsApp to like extend the numbers we can get in. So today as it sits, POC, or People of Culture Collective, is like over 1,000 members, which sits across different WhatsApp groups. Main WhatsApp group, there's like a film and director producer group, women's only group, LGBTQI plus group, and that sits as a community. And what that in the beginning as a community, what it really was is like people coming in and being like, oh my God, this just happened. Has this ever happened to anyone else? Yes. And this is the way that I got them sorted. I went to HR and la, la, la. So it was a very much organic exchange of ideas, and any problems that came up. Like there's a big rule of like, this just happened, I'm vexed about it. Yes, vent in the group, but then how do we all come together to do something about it? So one of the earliest things that we did was around knife crime, where the stop and search nonsense was starting, and we made like a booklet, a digital booklet to go out to people had ready for Carnival and all other things to look through and understand what their rights were. And by we, I mean like a designer was like, I've got this weekend free to design up the thing. Copywriter, I can do the copy for it. We need imagery. Oh, I can go and shoot that stuff. So as a community, just coming together. What happens when you build spaces like that is the safe spaces that aren't safe spaces come along. Hi, can we come in? No, you're Jinnel. You lot are from Babylon. Like, this isn't Babylon. We're fine here. No, but we want to know what you're doing. It's none of your business. But POC is buzzing in everyone's mouth now because it's like, I'm part of this group called POC. It's really safe and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So these bigger jobs are coming through. And we're like, right, I think that we can manage through this work as an entity, as an agency on top of the community, get people what they want to be paid or what they deserve to be paid, and protect them, and do things differently. So within POC, we pay parity in terms of like, very much when productions are happening, directors will normally get 10-12% of like whatever the overall fee is, right? So if you're making an advert, and the advert is like £350,000, director's fee will probably be about 35 grand.
I didn't even know that. So when you look at these massive Hollywood films with these £100 million budgets, the directors...
Yeah, not to mention points if they get whatever. That's a really... I'm simplifying it, but basically a percentage of whatever, right?
Yeah.
But then a producer will be on... Which in some ways sounds wild, but then in other ways, it makes sense, because it's like the director is on the thing from beginning to the complete end. And in some ways it ends up being cheaper doing it that way, because if you were doing it by a day rate, it could be a lot more. All of that to say that also producers are producing the thing all the way through, but producers will be a particular fee that is definitely smaller than a director, or less days or whatever. Whereas we're like, that's not really fair. What would be fair is if you two would be being paid the same thing. So we was in a position to just be like, no, this is the fee because we need to pay in this way. Oh, we can't do meetings on Monday and we can't do meetings at this point because so-and-so doesn't have childcare. Rather than dancing around it, no, we're going to build this. She's an excellent producer, but also her kid is more important than your business. And we strongly believe that. So now we're going to set up the meetings in this way and the workflow in this way around childcare. And by the way, her fee is this much because then it also allows for childcare. Just saying the things and putting the things in place that make us as Black and brown creatives, regardless if you're producer, writer, etc., feel safe. And also just putting me and Nana in a position that now really makes sense, because Nana is a great diplomat. I love to cuss people if they need to be told about themselves. Some more time if a client needs to be really explained to, like what they're doing wrong, why it doesn't make sense. We don't live in a space with any of the partners or clients we work with where we are not able to be like, what you just did right there is racism problematic, and this is why. Or we will not be doing that. We're always free to do exactly as we please. So this POC community, I guess, POC agency, which also encompasses production. And then last year we launched Tupac, which I'm not a fan of Tupac, but it just made sense to call it Tupac based on, because it's Tupac, right? Which is the community interest arm, because there were opportunities for funding. We didn't take any kind of funding in 2020 because we didn't believe in anything anyone was saying. We were like, you lot will lead us down a rabbit hole and we won't exist. We will take your money in 2020, and by 2021, if not 2022, you will all disappear. And rather than us, we just need to continue building our own foundation. So there are a lot of spaces, bless them, that are struggling right now or have had to disappear because all of that support has disappeared.
Yeah.
We felt like it was a fad. So we bet on ourselves and put our money where our mouth is. Even in those early days of like doing meetup for POC members and all of those things, it was me and Nana paying for all of the things. We would put our money together, literally out of our own pocket, provide food. Anyone need help getting home, we're going to pay for the taxi, da-da-da-da-da. We would literally just do everything ourselves until we got into a space. But Tupac is a space where we're able to take in funding and do interesting things. So over the past year, we've had the Art Fund, which allows artists to put their work on billboards in collaboration with Clear Channel as well as Shutterstock. We have the Film Club in collaboration with Picture House, which allows for, we put on different films and we do different networking events so people can come together and meet different levels of people in different film, in film. Even with Film Club as well, when Black Panther came out and Black Panther 2 came out and people were trying to be funny, it was like, oh, we really want to put something on, and no one wanted to help. We were like, okay, we'll do it ourselves. And so we just went and rented out the whole of Brixton and then gave tickets out to charities and kids in and around Brixton to come and watch Black Panther 2 for fun, for free, with popcorn and treats included. To just be able to step in and disrupt where it needs disrupting. And our next kind of goal, especially with Tupac, is outdoor space and the serenity that kind of comes with that. And encouraging Black and brown folk to visit all parts of this collapsed island, you know, go and find nature, go and hug a tree. That sounds like I'm being disrespectful, but I mean, be outside. Imagine that I used to think that I hated the rain. Do you know I don't hate the rain? I hate the rain in London because it's concrete and it stinks. It's a completely different thing to be in like the Lake Districts or any type of forest and get soaked and enjoy that. And then you get back and you put on a fire and you dry out where you've been, and like it does something to your soul in a completely different way that, imagine I had to wait till 30 plus to experience that. Do you know, I could have done with that when I was like 15, 16, in a particular fast food restaurant that begins with M. Yeah, mad thing. So yeah, that's POC. And it expands in the way that the community needs it to expand. So it's not just me and Nana sitting around be like, we should do this next. It's based on needs and conversations within, and like, oh, so should we build this out? You know, the Art Fund that I spoke of really came from a space of access and talking about, I really wish there was an easier way to get my art out there. And realizing like, oh, hold on a minute, there's a link here, so we can do this. So yeah.
For you, so you're clear, from what I'm getting from this conversation, what I've got, things that are important to you. So we're on 1,000 Voices, and I wanted to understand more about your voice and what you want your voice to represent. You've Black women are clearly very important to you. Representation, diversity, these themes are clearly very important to you. What do you feel that, one, first of all, your voice is, what do you believe your voice is known for right now? And secondly, does that align with what you want to actually be known for now and moving forward?
I think my voice at the moment is known for nuance. I come in and I have a point of view of the thing that no one else is talking about. I'm always interested in the real talking point of the situation. There's this thing where people talk about like, so-and-so's the first black this and so-and-so's the first black that. And I'm not saying that I'm the first to say this, others have said it online, but my thought was always like, but shouldn't the embarrassment be like, why are we only getting to the first black person that's done this? Like, don't you think that's weird? And how has that happened? We're just there clapping the thing, but I'm like, well, that's weird. Everyone should, if I step into a room and win something and I'm the first black, all of you should get a box. Like, it's ridiculous at this point. As a Virgo, I'm a Virgo rising, Virgo sun, and my moon is Sag, I believe. But as a Virgo, like my energy is very much pulled into how is that thing put together? How does it come apart? Or how to fix the problem? That's all I spend my time doing very naturally. And I used to really get hung up because I would make pieces of work that I knew made sense and would bang. And not everybody would get it straight away. And then a year later, everyone's like, oh my God, da 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 da, this is amazing. And I'm just like, oh God, but I'm now in like 2025. What do you mean that you've only just discovered this? Like, but now I realize that that is my gift. I'm never going, I don't think I'm ever going to be in a position as an artist where I put the thing out and everyone gets exactly what I'm doing. I feel like a little bit like Lauryn Hill on that Unplugged album.
Underrated.
Underrated.
People don't know that album the way they should.
People do not understand. When it came out, I was like, no one's getting what this is, but they will. And slowly but surely, I see people discovering it and being like, no, she was talking to things from early, la, 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 la. And I realized that's where I exist and I'm comfortable with it now. I'm comfortable with it now. I'm more than happy. I know that I just have to say, I know that I'm always seeing the thing. I know how to dissect the thing. Not everybody's going to understand what it is that I'm doing in the moment. And also I'm happy being part, and I've always been happy actually being part of the relay race. It's not always going to be, and it is not about my glory. Sometimes I just have to make that thing that allows someone else to be like, that absolutely bangs. That's given me an idea. And then they do it, and then it shifts culture. And I'm more than happy to be that small part of it. I'm not here for the glory. I just want things to be better for everyone. I just want everyone to know peace. That's why I've never had no qualms about how much I would pay for so-and-so, or how much should I be paid, or how did you do that? I would tell you, because I'm happy giving you my toolbox. You can't make what I would make with my toolbox. Equally, I can't make what you would make with my toolbox. So my thing, to answer your first question, I think what it represents right now is the nuance. Whatever the general conversation is, I'm always going to have a different opinion on it because I see it from a particular different kind of space. And then your second question, because I've just been talking, I've forgotten what it was.
It was more, does that align with what you want your voice to be known for?
Now it does. Forward? Now it does. It didn't. I wondered what my calling was, because imagine you're saying these things and there are people that love it and get it, but the commercial success of the thing isn't always commercial. I know deep within my culture I am loved and revered, and I know that I am your favorite artist's favorite, low-key, behind scenes. And also your favorite artists, I've probably had a hand in their thing because they've come to me and been like, oh, I'm trying to do this thing. And because of that talent that I'm talking about, because that's my main talent, I'm like, oh, but you could do this and put your spin on it because that makes this. Some more time, even if people are like, it's a weird question, or maybe it's not, but it's like, how do you know all of these people? Why does so-and-so know you? And it's like, because I've been a part of their career, or I've been the guy in the room that creatively is like, this is the way that you communicate it. So I've gone into advertising and taken it back and been like, oh, this is the way that you should, because then people will see this and that and that and that and that. But I used to just think, what am I doing? And then I realized, like, that's my talent and I enjoy doing it the way that I do things and don't worry about it. I'm just ahead of my time. And now that I'm at peace with that, so happy. And I think you can just tell by the way that I now move through the world. I don't get frustrated. I just put things up. I think that's about back to my sister Kelechi. I think that's exactly where we're at with her now. Elon Madman Musk tweeted about, oh, we just put the chip in the brain, la la la. Kelechi not, but the other day released a book back in September. One of the stories in there is called the Ally chip, where they put a chip in the brain and like la la la. There's so many things she predicts and has said over, is it 280 episodes of Say Your Mind, and all of the social commentary, and people are like, what is she talking about? She's so angry. A year later, okay, I get what she was trying to say now, da 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 da. And I think I just live in that space and I'm fine with it. I've always been an oddball. I've always been an oddball. I've always, and an oddball in terms of like, oh, Kevin, why are you thinking about that for? Because that's not the thing. And I'm like, no, but it's going to be a problem down the road. I've always lived in that space just beyond, you know? And it's been, I'm not saying it's always been like, my life hasn't been a smooth ride, not in the slightest. I understand that I have privileges. I didn't have the whole coming out thing. I wasn't like, you know, some people are disowned. They have to like find newfound families and all of these things, and they're bullied in a way. Is, oh, they'll grow up with like 4 uncles. Like, I know how to fight and handle myself. And they push me to like understand those things and learn those things to protect myself. Not everybody has that. And not that your grandparents didn't love you and whatnot, but I realized my privilege again. I had my grandparents. I saw my grandparents every weekend, both sets. And as I said, I grew up in a household, as much as like my father wasn't always doing what he was meant to be doing. I grew up in a household with my father who, for all of his shortfalls, taught me about Black history and taught me about the different countries in Africa and the slave trade and even the history of like Ireland and what they refer to as a famine as opposed to a genocide. All of these things. And then I go into school talking about this stuff and they'd be like, what are you talking about? So I've always been odd. Or like I said, I've always been a road you, but you're gay. How can you be a road you? You know what I mean? I don't know how to fight and handle myself. Are you all right? Like, so I've always lived in that space. And it goes back to your other question. Have you ever been that toxic kind of guy? And when I was talking about that thing of like trying to fight and be like, well, I want to be this, but this and that and that. Those are the spaces that I wasn't at peace with, and it felt quite stressful. And I would say in the last, founding POCC and realizing what the thing is, seeing the love pour into that space, having the freedom to change the rules and the foundations of the things that I was talking about earlier, realizing that I was talking about a POCC way before I even knew that we needed a POCC or how I would do a thing. You know, I remember me and Nana sitting and be like, oh, advertising is not my thing forever. I'm here to learn things, but you know, we could really just start an agency if we found enough like Black and brown, not even just Black and brown, but people with common sense who like live in, just have common sense and wash their legs. If we found enough of those people, we could have an agency. Oh, you can't do that. You'd need like £1 million investment. You could da-da-da-da-da. Really? I just think everyone just needs to have the skill sets they need. Like, we know how to like operate and manage the thing. Talk about the stuff all the time. And now look, 6 years on, you know? So yeah, sorry, I went off on one, but to answer your question, I'm at peace with it now. And I everything more than ever, what will be, and I'm always going to be all right.
It's a beautiful story, hearing that journey and you coming to where you are now.
I think it's always a circle, and I think what happens is the older you get, the circle just expands. You know, it's still, I haven't gotten to the end yet. There'll be more things, and I'm like, oh, but it seems to, it all connects, and I find it easy as well. Sorry, I'm going to stop because this is going to go on, but I think I find it easy to be who I am, and the way that I communicate is easy because all of it, back to your storytelling point, comes from a really authentic space.
Yeah.
So, excuse me, I can pinpoint all of my references to the way that I view things, and I've never been ashamed of the things. So like, biggest Biggie Smalls fan, biggest like Clips fan, that Coke rap, love it. But also biggest like Dawson's Creek fan when it was on, and like like TV shows like that, like, because I don't think I was ever taught to like think I could only be one thing and not the other. And as my life has progressed, there's a reason why I can be so descriptive in my work, but also give you that sweetness of like pop music / really white teen American drama. I just consume things, and I've always done that. And yeah, as I've got older, it's just really lovely, in a lovely way, blended together in the most amazing way. And I think that's the thing that I worry about for people. They aren't always afforded the time, aren't afforded time to explore those different strands and what they could truly be. They are too busy trying to keep up with the Joneses, not P. Diddy, pause. But do you see though how I like flip from da 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 da? Like, it's just like, and I'm not gonna lie, at one point it was all confusing. I'm like, why do I have so many languages? Essentially, it's like real black UK culture, garage, Windrush, South London, and then I'm very fluent in like American culture, the memes and all of the things, and even the memes becoming a thing, and then love of like Shakespeare and those classical kind of pieces, but in context with history and how those things came about, and then black history, all black history across the whole diaspora, you know. And people will get mad at me, and they do get mad at me, and they try and be like this, that, and the other. And it's like, yeah, well, talk to your ancestors. If you lot didn't run around so greedy, I wouldn't have to exist in the way that I exist. So that's you lot's business. Let me stop, because I will talk and talk.
All right. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Once again, appreciate it. This is 1000 Voices. We had Tevin Morosky on the podcast. So for now, people, we're out. If you would like to understand how you can use your voice to drive change, how you can craft compelling stories to move audiences, and for additional wisdom from the guests that we have on the podcast, sign up to our newsletter. Every single week, we send actionable pieces of advice to change makers like you. So if you haven't already, the sign up link for the newsletter will be in the description of this episode.